Hey everyone, and welcome to the Learning Ladder. Today I'm going to be talking about fable, myths, and fairy tales from IEW, and it's my review for this school year. This is part of my language arts reviews. I'll link the other videos that I've made below. Okay, so I'm not going to do a flip through of this because I think I already have. If I did, I'll link it below. But it's very similar to structure and style. The only difference is it's based around a theme and there are no video lessons. So I do think you either need to have done the teaching structure with style course yourself, or to have done one of the structure and style courses prior to using this one, just because then you would have an understanding of how it works and everything else. It comes from that point of view. It comes across from that point of view. So I think you really do need to have the grounding of either doing a structure and style course or the teaching structure and style course before starting the themed or the thematic units. Okay, there are 29 lessons in this particular theme unit, and the topics are note making and outlines, writing from notes, retelling narrative stories, summarising a reference, writing from pictures, summarising multiple references, inventive writing, and formal essay models. And if you've used structure and style before, you'll see that the outline is very, very similar. They give you read aloud suggestions as they do with structure and style. They'll give you goals and a schedule, or a proposed schedule. Obviously, you can change depending on how many days you choose to do writing. They'll have the source text and the keyword outlines in the teacher guide already pre-filled. That is different in structure and style because they're not, because you've got the video lessons. So that is really helpful, obviously, because you don't have the video lessons. If you didn't want to read through the source text yourself, you do have the answers already circled in the teacher guide for you. So your student will make their keyword outline as before, and they'll go through the same process where they'll retell the story using their keyword outline. They'll do their first draft, you'll edit it, they'll do their second draft, and so on. As with structure and style, it progressively gets harder in terms of what you need to add, all the different components, the ly adverbs, the strong verbs, the who what clause, and so on and so forth, until you get closer to the end where you're doing multiple paragraphs, multiple paragraph source text, and multiple paragraphs for your keyword outline, and producing your assignment. So how we use it: she will read the source text, she will do her keyword outline based on the source text. She will do the dress-ups, so when she's doing her actual writing, she will include the dress-ups as required, but I do not require her to stick completely to the source text. My daughter is very creative. She loves telling stories, and because we've done structure and style before, we did 1A. I feel like she knows the procedure well, and I can give her the flexibility to be creative, because as I think I've done a review of 1A before, it's very academic structurally styled writing, and as a creative person that can feel a bit like you're losing your own voice, but it's meant to be that way because it's structure and style. It's it's in the name. Basically, you're learning how to write from an academic structural way. It's not a creative writing course. However, because we have already done, the formal 1A and everything else, and she is very creative, I found a way to make it work for us where, yes, she's getting the structure and she's following the procedure, she's doing a keyword outline, she's getting all the dress up and everything else, she's structuring it correctly as they require, but I'm also giving her the flexibility to have her own voice in there. So she will change and add things to the text, and that's absolutely fine with me. Obviously, you've got to make your own decision as to whether that's okay with you, but that's absolutely fine with me to give her the flexibility of being creative and following a structure at the same time. So pros, it is very structured in terms of what they need to do. So it does lead them through the beginning to the end of how to write a paper. It makes them choose words differently rather than perhaps just using their go-to words. It makes you really think with all the dress-ups of how to make your writing stronger. I like the fact that it was based on a theme. They have multiple themes, and it was an interesting topic for her. She really enjoyed the topic and theme about it. My only con, as I mentioned before, it can seem like it's very extremely structured writing, and as someone who writes myself, I've never been the type of person to get all the self-help writing books and everything else. It just wasn't me. I just prefer to write and just let my creativity flow. I feel like we have managed to find our own flow with it. So yes, she's following the structure, but she's also being creative as well. I'm giving her the option to choose her own writing style and writing voice, within the parameters of a structure, without, her feeling stifled or unable to express herself freely. So that's my only con. The materials are always really well produced. I feel like they're easy to follow from a teacher point of view. I have done the teaching writing style with structure course. And I would definitely recommend it. I don't think it's essential in order to do the structure and style the structure and style courses, but I do think it is really good, and it's really interesting to see behind the ways and the workings and why they did things and everything else. And it's definitely really helpful if you wanted to jump into a theme to have done that course first, the teacher one, yourself. Would we use it again in the future? Absolutely. We're not actually going to be using any IEW writing course for 6th grade, but I would definitely use it again in the future. I really do like it. I think it's a great program. The video lessons that go with the structure and style courses are great. Andrew Podoir is amazing. I love watching him. He's really funny. As I said, there are no videos like lessons with this one, but to me that actually speeds up the process, because obviously in the lesson he's talking to the class and everything else, and it can make the videos can make the lessons longer for writing, whereas with this one you're more focused on just your actual writing. So that was definitely a pro. But I do like the video lessons, don't get me wrong, but I do think they add time to the actual writing process, whereas with this particular or thematic unit there aren't any video lessons, so it does flow depending on your student, how quickly they want to work through it and everything else, and that is definitely a pro. The other thing is not a con necessarily, but it's not always clear to me, and it wasn't. I had to ask a friend actually. With the structure and style courses, which order you do them in, because it goes 1A, 1B, 2A, 2B, and it can be quite confusing. Do you go from 1A to 1B? Do you go to 2? Anyway, she explained to me that you're supposed to do the A's first, so 1A, 2A, then go back to the B's. So that makes complete sense. But I think that's something that they could explain more on their website as to what order you do them in. The thematic units, you can fit them in at any point. There's no, you have to do this one first before you do that one, which I really like. So for example, if you want to do a history unit, they've got a history one of this particular thematic unit. So there are lots of different topics, and I don't think there's necessarily a flow into which order you do them in, but there are difficulty level differences. So I think some of them are more advanced, so you probably would want to wait, to either having done one of the structure and style courses first, it relates to that level, or to going back off age. But we've always enjoyed IEW products. As I said before, they're excellent quality, and I would definitely recommend them. If you are purely doing structure and style, or even the thematic units, and you're just following the structural process and not adding any sort of creative writing in, I would add in that separately, because I do think it's important that your student can have the freedom to express themselves in their own way without having to follow in a checklist. But I think this is also great for practice, for essays, for high school and things, because you can't really say just what you want in the essays. You have to have a flow, you have to have a structure to your essay. So I do think it's great practice for high school level writing, but I'd still add the creative extras in. That's just my personal opinion. Okay, that's everything today. I hope that was interesting for you. If you've got any questions, leave them below, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye for now.